Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. I move that Parliament take note of Honourable Minister for SOE statements, and I wish to make a little comment.
Make a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Let me congratulate the Minister for State Enterprise, Honourable William Duma, for these wonderful positive statements all about the performance of our 9 different SOEs in the midst of various challenges. Being his predecessor for a very little time, I thank the Minister for carrying forward with all those reforms we were talking about. Mr. Assistant Speaker, when we were talking about reforms, we were not talking about anything big. We were talking about basic things like merit-based appointments, disclosing financial statements, or publishing the corporate intent in the beginning of the year, or quantifying the community obligation projects, as we expect many of our SOEs to perform various community obligation projects. Mr. Assistant Speaker, even our development partners like even Asian Development Bank at the time even agreed to support almost $500 million of funding in 3 years, in 3 different payments, which is almost equal to 2 billion kina, just to do the right thing on a concessional loan, especially for our budget support. And Mr. Speaker, I thank the Minister for actually securing those funds. Even I think, if I'm not mistaken, still we have another $250 million to receive from this Asian Development Bank source, and also to invest in much needed aging infrastructure in various SOEs. Of course, the majority of funding is actually meant for our budget support, but I thank the government for supporting the minister by allocating certain portion of this amount to support various SOEs. Mr. Assistant Speaker, if we need to talk about every single SOEs, it has a very lengthy presentation. But some of those SOEs which are really struggling and which Minister is giving his full effort to support. For example, PNG Power. PNG Power, technically, it's struggling with its financial constraints, and also technically it's also being insolvent. Mr. Speaker, PNG Power carries various loss-making operations, as Minister just alluded through his statement. It has like almost over 500 million kina worth of operations which it needs to carry out. Whether it makes profit or not, even our province, Mr. Assistant Speaker, it depends on 4 diesel generator. It's running like 4 megawatt of power, but even that, we are struggling to give power 24/7. If we are getting power for 4 to 5 hours, then we are considered lucky. So these are the loss-making operations, not just one, but there are many, even province like New Ireland. It needs only 2 megawatt of power, but it also struggles with providing constant supply of power. And I would suggest, Mr. Assistant Speaker, those loss-making operations must be absorbed by our provincial governments, which has the capacity. Mr. Assistant Speaker, even out of desperation, we don't know what to do. When I was started constructing power lines, Mr. Assistant Speaker, you don't believe after 47 years, we started building a huge power line starting from Kimbe all the way to Thalassia. We reached Bola village, just about 5-6 kilometers before Thalassia. And also towards Nakanai district, we started even from main road to various deep villages called Silanga, Tarobi, and many other these places, including some connectivity program. Mr. Assistant Speaker, while we are building these power lines, we thought like the situation of generation will improve. And when PNG Power was facing the challenges, we even gave them 1 million kina for them to buy an additional generator so that they can put power on our grid. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And I've been ridiculed by people saying that, oh, you continue to build power lines. Where is the power going to come from? Mr. Speaker, as Minister rightly said, for KCH to invest in various sustainable power supplies like hydros or solar farms. In West New Britain also we have some potential hydro facilities, especially in our Roo Creek and also our Lobo Hydro in Biala, which currently producing less than 1.5 megawatt, which has the potential of up to 5 megawatt of power to produce, which can be 100% sustainable. And even otherwise, New Britain Palm Oil, in partnership with New Britain Palm Oil, we can also do the methane gas plant, which also has the potential to generate additional 2 megawatt of power. But the main challenge is for PNG Power to provide those power, and even PNG Power to even bill it properly to the people and collect revenue. Mr. Assistant Speaker, you won't believe the more than 50% of loss come from the non-revenue water or non-revenue, those invoices not properly invoiced to people and collected money. The main challenge which the various SOEs, like immediately after the departure of that other Malaysian company in Edarano, when even we are struggling to come up with the billing system where that company used to use. And now many people have not even received invoices and all those things, and we are losing money that we call it as non-revenue water. So there are a lot of gaps to fill in, which Minister is rightly addressing, to invest in various these sectors, these SOEs, whereby he's trying to address these challenges and to, just by fixing this non-revenue water or this non-collected fees or uncollected fees, I think we can immediately show some profit. Mr. Speaker, I'm glad even during my time, and it's until now, it's continuously PNG ports are providing a record level of dividend. Mr. Assistant Speaker, you'll be surprised to see few years back, and PNG Power was not even making any money until such a time, even the current minister's time, when he decided, the ministry decided to privatize in a sense just the operational of Port Moresby and lay operations of ports. Just becoming a landlord itself, we are collecting a lot of money, Mr. Assistant Speaker, without actually doing. In fact, without we involved in direct operations, the movement of ships have increased, the cargoes have increased, the business have increased, and PNG Ports able to collect more revenue by just becoming a landlord and able to give government the record level of dividends to KCH. Mr. Speaker, I also noted from Minister's statement that first time the government made a decision to reserve some money for Sovereign Wealth Fund, and Minister has executed it for even, it's a small amount, like 5-6 million kina. But that is really a good start. As an example, KCH has already started, and I'm sure Kumul Petroleum and Kumul Minerals also will follow suit, doing the same thing as KCH doing for reserving some funds, as bringing that saving culture for future use. Mr. Speaker, I also noted one of the important comment Mr. Minister had made about commercializing our People's Micro Bank, one of the best performing bank, though it's under National Development Bank. It had a lot of challenges to fix, but Minister's effort to commercialize this People's Micro Bank also should be supported. I must also admit, Mr. Assistant Speaker, I am one of the largest customer for this People's Micro Bank, even though in the interest rate is more than 10 to 12%, but I still remain faithful to this bank, even before I became the minister for this particular portfolio. But overall, Mr. Assistant Speaker, the minister has done extremely well in the midst of so many challenges in terms of dealing with our development partners, and also keep engaging with our multilateral partners, especially our funding agencies like ADB, World Bank, and also those 4 friendly countries like Australia, New Zealand, US, and Japan, to continue to pursue the dreams of connecting power lines to length and breadth of our country, and continuously working with these development partners to bring the much needed support for various SOEs. As a government also, Mr. Assistant Speaker, I encourage that we as a government also, being one of the major customer for all these SOEs, we also honor all our commitments. Sometimes it would be unfair to blame PNG Power or Telecom or any other SOEs when we ourselves do not pay our bills on time. If I'm not mistaken, at any point of time, we would be owing them more than 150 or 200 million kina put together. And I'm sure one of the reform we aimed at also for government to keep reduce these outstanding and also pay all our bills to, especially PNG Power, because we can't blame when we do not pay the bills and they can't afford to buy fuel and other challenges in the midst of various other challenges like Forex and other issues. But Mr. Assistant Speaker, this is a wonderful announcement to this parliament that we hearing about all the positive statements from minister, talking about merit-based appointment, talking about disclosing the financial returns, talking about improving governance, talking about even setting up an infrastructure committee for any projects which are more than 250 million kina projects, which these are efforts we must really appreciate and support. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure we also support the minister for, when we say privatization, Mr. Assistant Speaker, we are not just talking about selling these companies away. It is privatization is for giving opportunity for our own super funds, our own people to invest in these kind of sectors, like if minister brings that arrangement for privatization, especially for commercializing these telecom assets, commercializing this Air Niugini, which gives a great opportunity for our super funds also to invest and also grow with these businesses. So sometimes the public, without knowing, jumping up and down about this privatization, but they easily forget about the PNGBC, how it was commercialized and became BSP and now became a multi-billion company and able to provide a record level of dividends to its clients, which we, Papua New Guineans, owning this bank more than 40 to 45% of these assets. So we welcome that partial privatization arrangement by KCH and also the minister's effort to commercialize these assets. Mr. Assistant Speaker, Minister also rightly mentioned about the debt strategy. It's so much of stress in our balance sheet because of huge debts, and I'm thankful for the government. During my time, it wasn't easy, but Minister managed to convince the government to carry some of these major debts, especially the debts which are taken for major infrastructures. Like some of these debts are yet to be really commercialized, like our state-of-the-art 4G towers done with over $150 million, of investment, and also the Kumul undersea cables, which currently we are facing the challenges in terms of the cable breaking up and all. But these are huge investments which KCH alone cannot carry this debt, and I'm glad and thankful that the government is through Treasury willing to carry some of these debts as state's debt, so that these companies can also grow. As Minister rightly said, we need to replace some of these aging infrastructures in order to improve the performance of these companies, and otherwise we won't be able to compete with our private newcomers. Like just a new company comes in, within a month or two or within a year, they're able to take over already an established company like telecom. So that's a real challenge. And I'm also thankful the minister have signed up an agreement with Lay Unitech in order to provide those trainings for our telecom employees and various technical trainings with an investment of over 100 million in partnership with our University of Technology of Leh, because it's a huge commercial land which is owned by telecom, and I'm glad to see that it will be put into good use for providing training for our all local employees. And we are thankful that it's over 7,000 employees government is providing employment for. And the more we grow the business, the more employment opportunities we can give it to our people. Overall, Mr. Assistant Speaker, once again, I congratulate the minister, and I'm thankful for the ministers for his continued effort to implement these reforms and bring much needed development for our SOEs, which our people are the shareholder. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker.